Hello, everybody. It is the first of the month. So, you know what that means? It is time for the Maw of Mike to open up and stuff to spill out of it. And I am Mr. Michael Curtis, the Pharaoh of Funky Dice, the Major Domo to the Dark Master himself, and the host of this little show where you get everything or a good chunk of what's happening in the DCC universe straight from me. So, thank you all for tuning in. I have some special guests joining me this evening, and we will be getting to them shortly. But before we do that, we've got a couple of updates on stuff which have been kind of in the works for a while now. Um, let's start off by letting you know that the mystery map contest is heading toward its grand finale. We have the first round of entries have gone through the panel of judges, and we have winnowed it down to a total of 10 entries. And in the weeks to come, I will be going through that, and I will be choosing a winner out of those, and we will be making an announcement of the winner at GaryCon live during the appropriately how to write better adventure modules seminar on Saturday at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you're at GaryCon, please by all means check out the seminar, and you can hear the announcement live. If you're not going to be there, I believe that all efforts are going to be made to stream it live, so you can watch it from home. And we're also working to coordinate. So we'll have a post on the Goodman Games website to let you know basically who won. So one way or another, we will get that information out to you. Best of luck to all of you who have entered. We've had a lot of fun reading through your adventures, and there have been some really outstanding ones there. So I'm very happy with the turnout, and some of you are really picking up the DCC vibe. So I'm very happy to see that. So two of those judges will actually be on the show in just a little while, but we're not going to talk about the murder, the murder mystery party, the murder, this mystery map contest, the murder mystery party. Stay tuned for 2023. So that will be coming up in just a little while. So, speaking of GaryCon, it's back, baby, and so are we. So this is going to be the first time in 2 years the majority of the Goodman Games crew will have boots on the ground in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Um, we are all very starved for attention. So if you see us there, by all means, say hi to us. Um, please buy some of these poor people who have been working very hard to help break up that DCC backlog for me. Buy them a drink, buy them a sandwich. Basically, they deserve it all. So I will be there. Let's see, I will be there. Harley will be there. Brendan will be there. Doug will be there. Stephen Newton will be there. Daniel Bishop will be there. Jen and Bob Brinkman will be there. Matt Hildebrandt will be there. Um, I, I'm sure that Taco John will most likely be there. I'm sure. There will be a lot of stuff happening. But we all looking forward to being back there again and seeing you people and gaming with you in person again after 2 long years of not doing so. So we hope to see you there. I believe I know people will be running DCC games through the virtual GaryCon as well. Check out the DCC Rocks group on Facebook, because people have been posting there lately saying, I'm going to run this, I'm going to run that. We don't have an official kind of Goodman Games online element because we're going to be too busy running games in person. So yeah. Can we send money for virtual thank you beer fund if we can't be there in person? Good question, Tim White. I would say send that money to Brendan LaSalle, and he will make sure it gets put to good use. So um, also coming up, I have very positive news about DCC Dying Earth, which I know many of you have backed because it was a very, very successful Kickstarter. As of this month, everything is in layout, and art is being added to its piece, with the exception of one module, which you're currently waiting on Mr. Errol Otis to give us the cover. And as soon as Errol gets in, that goes into layout. So it's all coming together, and people have been busting their patooties in order to get this. We are determined to get this out, in September, when we promised that we would have this released, and everybody has been working their hardest to make that happen. So I've been watching the bits and pieces come in, and it's freaking amazing. I mean, it's one of those things that, again, if Dying Earth is not your particular cup of tea, there is going to be stuff in here that you are going to adapt into your home, DCC game, much like Fleeting Luck did with DCC Lankhmar. Some things just kind of jump the permeable membrane that that separates all DCC campaigns. So very happy with that. And you should be too. We're doing our best to make sure that everybody's happy with that. In the end, speaking of Kickstarters, I'm sure that if you are the one person who has been living in the middle of the Amazon basin, cut off from all sorts of outside communication for the last, 28 days or so, DCC 100 by Mr. Harley Stroh, The Music of the Spheres is Chaos, is currently in Kickstarting land and is not going to be there very much longer. In fact, on Friday, that Kickstarter ends. So if you have not considered backing it yet, please do so. Please don't be a bad person. Or, or at least lower my opinion. I'm sure you're a fine person, but we're going to be doing a countdown show on Friday where we'll watch the ball drop and hopefully the bunny rise, up, one goes up, the other goes down, and we'll be counting that down live. Hang out there. Harley will be there. I will be there. I'm sure there are a couple of other friendly faces, will also be there, and we'll be celebrating it no matter where it ends, even if we don't get the Mike's Crazy album cover judges screen stretch goal, which I kind of really hope we do. Otherwise, I'm going to be the only one with a yes, album cover at the convention tour this year. So, I think that mostly covers about what's been going on. As usual, I have some good stuff coming at the end of the show, which we put it there to make you sit through and watch the rest of this. So I think we'll cut to a little commercial break and we'll get ready to bring some people on. So just stick around and we'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. Hope that wasn't too long. Joining me tonight, we have two guests. We have Ann Hunter and we have Stephen Newton. And they are here tonight to talk about a little something called Lighthouse at Shipbreaker Shoals, written by Ann. That is correct, right? So,
yes. Yeah.
So, and this is being printed by Thick Skull Adventures, which is why we have Stephen here. And Stephen did some additional writing on it too, so we kind of had to drag him along. So why don't you give us kind of the basic, kind of the overview on what Lighthouse at Shipbreaker Shoals is? I mean, it's a lighthouse adventure, and obviously nothing bad has ever happened in a lighthouse in the history of media. So it should be pretty laid back adventure, correct?
Yeah. So first of all, I really want to give credit to Stephen. He was the one who first contacted me and asked me to help write an adventure to connect the previous two Thick Skull adventures, and he has really shepherded this thing all the way through. It would not exist without him. So Lighthouse at Shipbreaker Shoals is a kind of grounded adventure, I think, in a reasonably realistic setting. You find yourself investigating why this lighthouse has gone out, and it turns out the answer is monsters.
Monsters.
That's a very common, cause of most problems in fantasy role-playing games and the real world. So so
it's true. And I tried to write it a bit as a mystery or investigation. So there are a couple of particularly bad monsters who are affecting the environment, and a lot of the other things that you find are caused by them or are clues about the effect that they're having, and maybe how to beat them, because they're pretty big and pretty scary.
Yeah. I see. Stephen was very kind to send me a copy of it before the show, and I had a chance to read it through over the weekend. And I, right off the bat, I could tell it was a DCC adventure because there was no bog standard, I'm going to take this from page 35 of the DCC, monster guide or anything. This, everything was just oh, I've never seen one of those before. I've never seen one. Oh, I don't even know if I ever want to see one of those. So it's so I think it's going to be great, because you don't know what these things do. Like a couple of things oh, that's that special power and that's what that does. So I think there's one encounter I know, which I think in the garden, which is going to cause some consternation. I don't even know what the heck's going on there, but so
yeah, we tried definitely tried to make everything unique and surprising. but also to have hopefully every monster that you encounter sort of is connected to one of the two major causes of trouble at the lighthouse. And so even though they're each unique and surprising, hopefully like a sense of like theme or a sense of like unity is there as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when I first read the introduction for it, you know, before I got deeper into the venture itself, I was kind of like, is this going to kind of go to like the movie Cold Skin? I don't know if either you or Stephen have ever seen the Cold Skin. You know, it's kind of it's in like the Lovecraftian vein of there's like, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, like Lighthouse, and then things come out of the ocean, which, you know, very much are, you know, if you've read Shadow or Innsmouth, you're like, these could be deep ones. So I was like, is this going to be a deep one? And no, it was not. It was like, so I'm like, you know, so this was great. I'm like, cool. You know, it's like, you know, I love, you know, I love anything that, you know, which is one of the reasons why I find it so difficult to write a Lovecraftian adventure in some ways, because it's always like, all right, what's it going to be? Miko, deep ones, you know, like you go through the checklist, and then, but with this, it's just like, I don't know what that is. I don't even want to know if I want to find out what that is. You know, so I you know, it's very DCC in that fact. So, no. So
yeah, they are all inspired by real world animals, which
and they are. And a couple of them, I was just like,
yeah,
I know what that is in real life, and I guess that's exactly what it would do. You know, So, so Stephen, you approached Anne about writing an adventure that was going to be the kind of the tie-in between Attack of the Frogs and the Haunting of Lavik Island, right? That's where the
Yeah. So this so first of all, thank you, Anne, for all your great work on this adventure. It came out better than I ever could have expected. But the background is it was about 2018, and I was getting ready for a reprint of Frogs. And I wanted to put in some bonus content, but I'd already messed with Frogs once. I'd updated it for DCC, and I didn't want to keep tweaking it every time it came out, but I did think it would be interesting to have some bonus content. And back in the day, I was really impressed with some of the work that Anne was doing on Google Plus. I think it was right at the point of demise of Google Plus and MeWe. But there was a lot of blog articles coming out, and I thought it would just be great to have a fresh voice and see what other people could do with the Frogiverse. And so I basically gave Anne copies of Frogs and Larvik, and I said, pitch me something. And I am a sucker for sea adventures, like coastal adventures. So Creep, Scrag, Creep, and Larvik, and you know, Frogs are all you know, in my mind, they all have a bit of a Stephen King main, you know, Midnight Mass, Anchorhead kind of feel about them. So that's what I was really drawn to with Anne's pitch. And then it took a while to get here with COVID and real life and everything else, but it's here now, and so I'm really excited to have it come out. In fact, Frogs is having its 10-year birthday here, so this is a good time for that, which means DCC is having its 10-year birthday.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much. It's strange how that happens. Thank you very much, Knoxville 2020, for subscribing. We do appreciate it here on here. And where did the inspiration for this come from? Was it, you know, were you reading something? Were you looking at a postcard, saw Lighthouse? You know.
Well, so the two adventures I was looking at before, Attack of the Frogs takes place in a village that's sort of on a lake, and then Larvik Island obviously takes place on an island. And so when I was thinking about how to connect the two, the coast struck me as like a place where, you know, land and sea meet, and so it's a good bridge physically between the two of them. And the idea of a lighthouse going dark seemed like exactly the kind of thing that might get newly minted heroes who had just survived their 0 level funnel out of town, on the road, and then sort of on a path that would lead them to Larvik Island. And Larvik Island has a lot of, not a lot, but it has some theology behind it. It has some like some cosmology. There's the machinations of some sort of sea deities. And so I also thought about using the conflict between those deities as a way to sort of motivate what's going on at the lighthouse, where you have a protector deity that is sort of the guardian of the lighthouse, and then some maybe jealous rivals trying to mess things up.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember from offhand, but were the sea deities, was that some of the stuff was already in Attack of Frogs, or was that new stuff that you kind of made to the Frogiverse, as we're calling it now? Apparently.
the Frogiverse. They yeah, they're only hinted at in Frogs, and then I bring them up a little bit more in the reprint. That was one of the things I did. And then they're much more prominent in Larvik.
Okay.
And they were really prominent in Larvik too, which still sits in the bin waiting to be finished at some point. So
maybe that's why I forgot about them. I haven't
That's
seen
right.
Larvik through, Divine
That's right.
Boogaloo, whatever it's going to be, right?
Festering in my draft folder over here.
Yeah, sure.
Well, and they're very much in the background here. They have set things in motion, but you're not going to. I hope I can spoil this. You're not going to like run into one of the gods.
Right.
Only their minions and servants.
Well, I kind of, as we were mentioning before the show live, is we haven't mentioned that this is a first level DCC. Yeah, I mean, you'd mentioned this kind of like a follow up after the funnel and everything, but this is reading through this. This is very much a first level DCC adventure, because as we were saying, if you're playing like a first level D&D adventure, it might end with you fight an ogre. Like, oh, that's the big bad and everything. The big bad in this is slightly bigger than an ogre. So and
yeah, well, there's sort of two major things to fight, and one of them is the barnacle bear, which I think would have been the ogre equivalent that would be the final fight in maybe a more standard D&D adventure, and it's like the mini boss here. And then there is a larger fight coming at the end with a creature that is depicted on the cover, and it is not a fight that it's not a fight that you can win by conventional means. I don't think. You're not going to win this one by swinging your sword at it, unless you get very lucky with your critical hit. More likely, you're going to have to be creative and sort of use the environment and use what you've learned to do some non-conventional tactics against this thing if you're going to win.
Yeah.
As Terry Olson would say, it's an opportunity for smart play, to reward players that do smart play.
And I like that there are a number of I actually, one of the things I like about there's the little kind of side quests to some point, like there's the one thing with the potion maker, and I think it's very nice. It's like the potion maker wants you to go get an ingredient, but it's kind of like very laissez-faire what exactly you bring back, and then the adventure give some suggestions like, what if we put this in this, what if we put that into it, and I really enjoy little mechanics like that, little kind of like almost like not really mini games because you're only playing once, but it does lead to that interaction, like, do we want to put this into it? I don't know.
Yeah, and I do think that was something that we did intentionally, was tried to give options for players to be creative, but also I tried to anticipate the things I thought they maybe be the most likely to do, and to give advice about how to handle that. So they might still surprise you and come up with something that I didn't give you any input about how to handle it, but I was hoping to think ahead a bit about what I had made look promising, and what I had given hints about, and what people might try to do, so that if they do those things, that the referee has some guidance and isn't just trying to wing it.
One of the things I was really caught my eye when I was reading through it is there's a certain monster that has the crush attack, where in most things it'd be like, oh, the monster grapples you and then you automatically take damage, but I like there's the little kind of sub mechanic of like, it's going to do X amount of damage to you, but you can decide to take less damage by basically saying that like it crushes something, like crushes one of your possessions, like, oh, there goes that 10-foot pole, there goes that hole, and for every item you sacrifice, it it deducts 1 point off the damage total. I thought that was just a genius little twist to it. It's just
Oh, thank you so much.
I really love like player agency in a lot of ways. It's like, well, like, oh, I've got my holy symbol and I really like that holy symbol and I might need it because I have to cast a holy spell. But the difference between 1 extra point of damage and 2 extra point of damage may mean the cleric ain't going to be around. So
Yeah.
I thought that was a very neat mechanic, and I may steal something like that down the line, because it's just little things like that really make me very happy as a designer. So that really stood out to me.
I'd be happy for that to catch on.
So there you go. So if you're watching the show, go out and steal that right now. Just make sure you give Ann credit. That's it. So, so Stephen, you obviously you're very happy with, although it took 3 years in order to finally come out. You're it's now out, correct? It's available through what are you? I know it's out, available at least in PDF, right? And
Correct. It's out, available in PDF. It is going to be through the Goodman Game Store shortly, I guess. So I know I've sent the copies out there, so I think it's just a matter of getting through the chain. So there is print options. It'll be out there in the wild. I do want to give, before we, so I don't forget, so I want to make sure I don't forget. So all the art in the adventure was done by Felix Pyron. I think they go by FRK Pyron professionally. And map was by Stefan Pogue. So that was really nice. He's worked with me on my last several adventures now, and he's always great for the cartography and whatnot. And we used a new editor on this one. So Jeffrey Seifert, I don't know how we pronounce his last name, but he did the editing on this one. So nothing is ever just, 1 or 2 people. So it takes a village and all that, or a small group of gong farmers to bring these things to life.
Well, I know you're going to be at GaryCon. Are you going to bring any copies of Shipwreck, that Lighthouses Shipbreaker Shoals with you?
I could actually. I didn't even think about that, but I'll throw some in the backpack if you want a bootleg, or like out of the bag copy of it. I don't know if it's a bootleg.
So there you go. So Anne, are you going to be at GaryCon by any chance?
I wasn't planning to attend this year.
Okay, all right. No, it's totally understandable this way, but I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm going to be there too. I mean, I'd be more than happy to sign it. A voice of the peanut gallery mentioned something about a funny playtesting story. Is that?
Yes. Okay. So
we share in public, or is that more like
Oh no, it's okay. Well, so I playtested this with my regular Friday night group, which at that point in time consisted of John Potts, who is the original author of the Cthulhu adventures, Todd McGowan, who many DCC people will know for his art, especially in the upcoming Weird Frontiers, Peter Kistner, and Josh Burnett, Bernie the Flump fame, and he wrote the Crepuscular Scene. So we were playtesting it as using the Cthulhu rules. So they had guns, and in the kitchen of the lighthouse keeper's house, they saw something that they wanted to shoot, and I really loved that we were using the DCC rules for missing with the missile weapon, because as I'm sure many of the listeners know, in DCC, if you miss with any kind of like missile weapon, there's a 50% chance that you hit one of your allies. And so there was kind of a massacre in the kitchen where the monsters didn't even have a chance to hurt anyone, just because everyone got out their guns and opened fire, and mostly had a lot of friendly fire accidents. If you've ever seen the movie Snatch, it kind of looked like the scene where Dennis Farina is trying to shoot the dog and ends up killing Bullet Tooth Tony.
I love friendly fire and adventures.
Yeah. That's it. Especially at a convention where we're running it, you're like, well, there's a possibility you might hit that guy. I don't know. I just kind of met this guy, 3 hours ago. I hope you don't mind, So
So at the risk of sounding like a
Yep.
broken record, every time I'm on any show, I always talk about the importance of playtesting. And so in my playtesting of the adventure, one of the folks that was running it, I was asking him, there's a MacGuffin, you're trying to find the person that used to run the lighthouse. And my playtester said, hey, wouldn't it be interesting if this guy had a wooden leg? And there was like different stories about why. So that was like one of the tweaks I'd made to the adventure. So there's like a running theme through all the NPCs of like, how did this dude lose his leg? That really is just there for color. But again, never would have happened if I hadn't play tested it. So it's more inspiration for people.
I did say that I did see that as official Thick Skull adventure because there is a giant beaver reference in it before the adventure is over. So
That's right. Treasure hunt.
Yeah. So the one thing I think we did not mention is that this is suitable for, you can do this in like a 4-hour session. I mean, this is not a vast sprawling adventure. This is, the perfect thing of, not just like the great connective tissue between, one adventure and the other, but this is almost like, hey, what do you guys want to do Thursday night? Well, let's roll up some first level characters and go check out Lighthouse, right?
It certainly could stand alone, and it is it's pretty compact, which was one of the goals as a connective adventure, that it didn't send you sprawling too far afield by itself. And so yeah, that's a good point.
And actually, I don't think I finished that thought. It was originally intended to be a bonus adventure, and then it grew a little bit larger than the adventure it was bonifying. And then I asked folks, I'm like, should this stand alone? And like everyone who playtested said, oh yeah, this is a completely standalone adventure. So that's how it came out as its own deal.
And although it has connections between frogs and haunting and everything, it's a lighthouse in the middle of, just off the coast. It could be, unless you're running like a strict desert campaign, I'm sure this is you can pretty much drop this into any DCC game that you're playing. So.
Any DCC game, whoever your favorite sea goddess is, Pelagia could make an appearance.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's next month. I'm all Mike. Who's your favorite sea deity poll? We'll be having winners. Will get an adventure written about them. So, all right. Well, so I think we've dealt deeply into Lighthouse at Shipbreaker Shoal without kind of spoiling too much. So. Anne or Stephen, any last thoughts about it? Any you want to give that final pitch and tell the viewing audience why they need to be tracking Stephen down at GaryCon or visiting the Goodman Games website and picking it up? No.
No, I just want to thank Anne again, and obviously Michael. Thank you for having me on the show. I think the adventure has a great vibe. It's got chemistry, and you got to have your players encounter that big finale. So that would be my pitch.
All right.
And I want to thank Michael for having me on, Stephen for giving me this opportunity and seeking me out. This is my first published adventure, like of any size. So I really appreciate having this opportunity and thank you. And my only advice is treat it like a mystery. Look for those clues and try to figure out what they're telling you.
And do you have anything in the works? You do another one you want to pitch to Stephen? Either not live. You can do that through other channels, but
Oh no, yeah. I have a few things I'm working on right now. One thing I'm working on is I'm writing one of the bars for Barkeep on the Borderlands, which just had a finished Kickstarter. So that's my most current project.
Okay, all right. Well, I think that wraps it up for Lighthouses. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Stephen, for coming on and talking about it. And we're going to go to. I'll be right back, and we're going to get rid of our next guest. We're going to welcome our next guest on the show, who many of you will most likely recognize. All right. So thank you very much. We'll be right back in.
Thanks, everybody.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Keep Crawling with Mike and Britton. No, wait a minute, we're not doing that, right? This is something else.
I wish. It's been too long.
Old habits die hard, right?
I know, right?
How
you been, Mike?
I'm doing well. As obviously, we're not in our basement, so this must be another
Yeah.
show. This must be Maw of Mike. You know,
I'm in the
so
mall, y'all.
we're in the Maw. Yes, making a very first appearance here on Maw of Mike. Because um, Gary Con is coming up, and we're not here to talk about, you know, obviously Gary Con more, but we probably will. But we're going, as longtime fans of Goodman Games know, like when we go to a convention, we like to have, you know, special convention releases or stuff to debut at conventions. And we were having a debut adventure in a line which is near and dear to my heart, of course, DCC Lankhmar. So coming out in just weeks of time, I think it's actually even available for pre-order now, last time I checked, is an adventure called Mercy on the Day of the Eel, written by Mr. Brendan LaSalle. Brendan,
It's
what the hell is Mercy on the Day of the Eel, man?
You know, I wanted to I wanted the title to really be set in Lankhmar, so I imagine like if you still used like the day of system like they did in Lankhmar, what would a movie be like that they would put out there? You know what I mean? I love that there's a rota of days that they go through. So this takes place on the day of the eel, which is a good day for I think it's like showing mercy, but it's also specifically it's like
Forgiveness, that kind of stuff, right?
yeah. So I hope people like it. I hope the title helps people like sort of get their head that, you know, it instantly puts you into Lankhmar.
Mhm. No. Well, I mean, it's obviously if you were, say, up to your neck in trouble with one of the powerful forces in Lankhmar, like say the Thieves Guild, looking for mercy on the Day of the Eel would probably be a good thing. So you want to give us a little background on the plot of Mercy of the Day of the Eel without spoiling too much?
Absolutely.
Maybe, actually, the hardest hitting question in all of Gamedom right now: why does the lady on the cover have such skinny arms?
Yeah, right. That's a spoiler. So that, and thank you, Tim, for that question. And dude, hey, Tim just sent us beer money, y'all. So good, Tim. I love you so much. It actually is painful. Thank you. So the very skinny arms. So the basis of the story behind the adventure is that the characters have all, for one reason or another, offended the current head of the Thieves Guild. He has them all thrown in irons, but then at the last minute, Shamisa the fortune teller recommends that he show mercy on this day, and he decides to allow them to, you know, to make their transgressions up to him by performing one dangerous heist for him, a dangerous and tricky heist. So but of course it's Lankhmar, and what should be just a regular job for a bunch of alley bashers and ne'er-do-wells, of course, can get infinitely complicated. And with any luck, that's exactly what will happen for you and your players if you're running the game.
It's every heist movie ever.
Yeah, it's very
something always goes wrong or something unexpected happens. But
it
actually,
had better.
I like this because there is something unexpected happens, but you know there is kind of a way of like we could just kind of do this and you know and we cut out 50% of the adventure, but it's like we don't want to cut out 50% of the event. Actually, let's put it this way: any role player worth their salt is going to be like, well, we could either go do what we're told, or we could go do this thing, and you know.
True that. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I try to give the players a lot of agency after the beginning, because in the beginning they're pretty much railroaded into going on this adventure as written. Obviously, I've got suggestions in it for how to adapt it to your campaign, how to sort of like bring it up naturally. But the the heist is very open. There's a lot of ways that you can pull that off, and you're sort of like open to try whatever you want to. And then you could actually do as you're told, and it doesn't mean, and I think that the way it's written, the complication, the big complication of the adventure could still occur at some point in the future of the adventurers. You know what I mean? Maybe we don't see it this night, but maybe we see it on a night coming up. So
Yeah, I mean as you said, you were like for the kind of the big heist of the MacGuffin that's involved, which kind of leads everything further on to the rest of the adventure. There's obviously a lot of different ways you can pull it off, but it wouldn't be a heist if there wasn't a playing dress up. There wasn't the masquerade. Like, so I think this everybody growing up watching Mission Impossible, it's just like, oh, there's got to be like a disguise at some point, or we're gonna dress up like a mariachi band and we're gonna bust into the party, and like while we've distracted them, so, so I'm glad to see you anticipated all of that stuff.
I tried. I love a good heist movie. I love a good heist story. And I feel like I don't know. I sort of like distilled all of that into this a little bit, but trying not to make it like I try to put the actors in place and then let the PCs go and do whatever they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, here are the bad guys. Here's how they're set up. Here's their scheme. Here's their motivation. Now go get them. See what the outcome.
And you accomplished it very well. Well, obviously, you've written an adventure or two, from what I understand.
I have. So you were a huge help. Thank you so much. Like, if you don't know, Mike is now the product line developer for DCC, for Goodman Games, and he gave it this was actually, I guess this is the first one that you. Am I right? Is it the first one that you developed for me?
This I don't know. Is that the last
first or second at the least?
But I know it was definitely something like,
yeah.
I knew that you had been working on a DCC one for a while, because we talked about where the MacGuffin should be hidden. There was some big
there was that.
What should it be behind, or what should be inside, and so and you had play tested and everything, and we wanted to do more. We want to keep supporting Lankhmar, so I was like, Brendan, tell me more about this, DCC Lankhmar adventure that you've been playtesting and stuff. And he sent me the manuscript, and I could have said no, but it was it was good enough that it was like, okay, this is I think it's interesting. I think we kind of get down to that. There is a bit of a difference between writing adventure for like core DCC versus writing adventure for DCC Lankhmar, and I don't think everybody can do that. So.
I mean, I was terrified, frankly. I was really, when I was a kid, the Lankhmar, that was really Far from the Grey Mouse, or how Dungeons and Dragons felt to me. You know what I mean? That was really like those stories and the way they, reacted with each other. It was such a seminal part of me. To me, writing something for Lankhmar was more nerve-wracking to get it right than it would be if I was writing for the One Ring or Star Wars or anything, like that. You know what I mean? I think I could do that fairly easily, but I really, I really had to like screw my, courage to the sticking place. And finally, at the end, it was just like, I'll just rip it off and run it online at one point and just like, get through it. And then much later on, I liked it enough after that one time that I read it at a couple of conventions, and then later on, is when we talked about doing it, but your guidance was invaluable, and but it when you're writing something for Lankhmar, I mean, there's a feel to the adventure and there's limitations to the adventure, but there's so much richness that you can also draw from to kind of like fill that out. I really tried to do that. I really tried to put my mind into Lankhmar. I reread all the books again before well, not all of them. I reread all my key ones, all my favorite ones before I sent it back out. So I hope it comes out. I hope it comes out through the adventure. I really, really do.
I think it will, and one of the things which I said, let's do this one, is because the second half of it is strange. I mean, it's like when people get an idea of like a DCC DCC Lankhmar, they're thinking, rightly so in a lot of cases, okay, urban adventure, like backstabbing in alleys, that kind of stuff. It's very kind of, as I've been calling Fat from the Great Master Series, kind of like it's a very blue collar fantasy. It's like, not really weird, like high heroics and stuff. But that's actually when you know the stories, you're like, this is the same series of stories where they met a time traveling German, like who showed up riding a dragon. So there is that element of like craziness that every now and which just kind of pulls off. And this adventure is kind of like, remember, Lankhmar can get pretty weird itself,
Oh, yeah.
So
I try to have both. I try to have there's the heist component in the beginning, and then there's the having the world traveling, which is something that Far From the Grey Mouser absolutely did. They left the Lankhmar world bubble and went and explored beyond that, including coming to our world. So that was sort of like what I what I was trying to tap into, I suppose.
No. Tim White has a question. Did anything from my research for the library archives make it into your editing of this venture? First of all, I just want to make this perfectly clear, because as an archivist, this is my background. There is no such thing as the Fritz Library Archive. There is the University of Houston Special Collection, which houses the Fritz Library Collection. so if you go there and ask, like, can I see the Fritz Library Archive? They're going to look at you like crazy and everything. So it's a collection inside the University of it. Everybody kind of gets that mixed up, except for somebody who has a degree in library science. But the question is no, it didn't, because I had nothing to do with this element of it. This was written by Brendan LaSalle. He did not go to the University of Houston. In the editing of it, I did a development pass on it, and when I do a development pass, my job is to make a writer's writing as good as it could possibly be, not to kind of insert my own stuff to it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I have this job. Because I have been on the other side of that fence, so I know what it's like, and I know how to take constructive criticism, but I also know the fact of, like, I've also worked in the film industry, and I know what it's like when producers give notes. So I'm not going to be that person, like. So.
I will say though, Tim, Mike's notes that he did give me were fantastic, and like there were a couple of names. He was like, "That does not sound like Lankhmar," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess it doesn't." I totally know where it came from. Like Lankhmar is canon. That Lankhmar is like your version of it. It's your favorite city. It's the city that you think of when you think of a city. And in my mind, when I run Lankhmar, it is very much New Orleans. So there were a lot of names in there, people you might run into in the French Quarter. But Mike corrected those and a couple other things. I think he really tuned it up and made it feel more in line with the other Lankhmar adventures from Goodman Games, and certainly more like the series. So thanks again.
Yeah. Jacques LeBlanc running the tavern just wasn't going to fly,
I know, right? Yeah.
Not pass the Lankhmar Steph test.
No. Yeah, I think it was like Etienne, and in my mind, I'm like, oh, of course Etienne runs. Yeah, it's terrible, bad idea. So, what you gotta do?
So does mean Lestat is not in the adventure? No, Stephen, Lestat does not make an appearance in this adventure. But I do know in the first edition AD&D era of when they had the Lankhmar license, there is a vampire in Lankhmar adventure. I think it's called like One Night in Lankhmar makes a proud man humble or something. It's based on like they ripped off that song, like One Night in Bangkok.
No.
Yeah.
For real. Oh, that's so cool. It's a great song.
I think the other thing about doing a good Lankhmar module is that what you since it's outside for the most part of like the dungeon confines, you have to account for a lot more. And I think with the idea about the the heist, you did that very well. It wasn't just like, okay, you're going to go, your choices are, you can go through this door, you can go through that door, and you can fight the kobolds, you can fight the orcs. It's very much of like, all right, we know we got to get it. It's in this one. And I kind of did that in Grave Matters, which another heist one where you basically just like get that thing, and then you're kind of like thrown into it like, all right, how are we going to get that thing? And I think that to me is a lot of fun, both as a player and as a judge, because at least for a judge, I know when you give that option to players, you have an hour just to kick back and check your mail and do everything else, because they're going to spend the next hour arguing over like, what if we do this, or what if we get a big mustache? Can we get 6 otters at this point?
It's always outfits. It's always the one that like, it's like, where can we go to get a geisha outfit or whatever it happened to be for the
There's all, and actually that'd be a great Lankhmar supplement. We just like kind of like 12 locations in Lankhmar, but it's just like a collection of like the merchants who sell weird stuff and what they're charging for. Like how much does it get to get like a wagon for like a tooth puller or something at 3 a.m. in the city of Lankhmar, the big book of heists.
I mean, That would be awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, if you think about it, you could do a whole Lankhmar game where all you did was play characters trying to steal stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no adventuring, no monsters. You're just going to break into places and just, fulfill your destiny and take people's stuff. And a book like,
No, I was,
oh, no.
I was going to say, it's like, I think, I think we like, there's the time there were like Goodman had like the Ziggurat band and like the Chain Devil band and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I think at some point we're going to hit like a heist band. I think,
Yeah.
which is why I like, the Lankhmar holiday adventure was more like a kind of an investigation, like mystery thing.
Sure.
Which is great because that's what urban adventures are all about, so you can bring in all these different elements. So
absolutely. Well, I'm glad I got mine in under the wire. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
better to be a
well, we've got there's two more that if you're turning in from Mall of Mike to learn more surprise about stuff that's going on, this is where it pays off. We've got two more Lankhmar adventures in works for the years. I'm working on one of them, and Mr. Harley Stroh is working on the third. So so it's gonna be a great year for Lankhmar adventures. So so that's so let's see. What do you think the major selling point is for this one? Why people should be playing Mercy on the Day of the Eel, aside from the fact that you wrote it?
I think that this is going to, it's got a couple of things that you can do with it. One of them is that it could function as a higher level meetup. If you wanted to do a slightly higher level campaign, or if you had, let's say, a group of lower level adventurers who had outlived their early adventuring buddies and are now looking for a new group, this would be a really good meetup for that. I think it could be a pivotal point if the Thieves Guild is going to be a really big part of your campaign. It could be a very pivotal moment where you are either now we're cool with the Thieves Guild, or now we're very uncool with the Thieves Guild, and it could kind of serve to take the adventure in either of those directions. It can also take your characters on a really strange adventure and give them something to come back and talk about, and possibly might even attract the attention of a certain patron who loves to collect gossip.
Okay, I think I know who that is. Ningabol, who has a cave. So do you have a obviously you've been playtesting this at conventions and stuff for leading up to actual this. Do you have any good playtesting stories about any of the shenanigans that came up?
Yeah, the first time I ran, how do I tell this story without spoilers? All right, the first time I ran it, there's a magical thingamabobber in there, and my characters decided to try to they thought they would kind of investigate it, see if they could test it to its limits, and it set up such a funny combat there in the end with this poor knucklehead that didn't want to be involved in the adventure at all. They wouldn't let him leave, and all of a sudden this person now has got the power to like take their fury out on everybody else. So it had this regular Joe like got mad and like really gave my rich, and there were 5 of them, and gave them a very, very bad time after being infused with the power of this thing. It was a really neat moment. It was like one of those great moments where your players try improv a solution to a situation which suggests a different kind of final scene for the adventure entirely. It was really, really, really cool to kind of like follow them where they were going like, okay, you want to go crazy? Okay, let's go crazy. And it was so fun. It was really, really, really neat. So that was first time I ran it. I had amongst other people, I had Bruce Cunnington and oh gosh, I get Lana McCoy, Laura. So it's all up. I can't remember her name, but it was it was a really great group. Guru Phil was a part of that, and Jen Brinkman. Jen Brinkman was in that group.
Okay.
And boy, the ending, it just was one of those that went in a direction I didn't think it could go in, and it did. So a lot of fun.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, so I think we have to address the elephant in the room before we kind of move off to the final segment of the show, which is you and I are on Zoom together. We're broadcasting on Twitch. when is season 3 of Keep Calling with Mike and Brendan coming back? You know,
It's, let's get it together. I'm ready for I'm ready to do it again. I miss it,
I'm looking back. I think traditionally April is usually the kickoff of when we go. That's kind of like when we started the first one after we decided that we were like, hey Joe, why don't you get Brendan and I a talk show? And then after Gary Con, usually what happens is we hook up Gary Con and we say like,
we're like, oh, we should.
We've not been in Gary Con since we started the show, so never mind. But but I know personally, after Gen Con, I tend to get more, I get more creative because it kind of shake off that winter,
Yeah.
It's winter and being around, people, the tribe and everything. You're like, all right, let's start doing that again. So I mean, obviously there's a lot more content now on the Goodman Games Twitch channel, but I'm sure as treasured luminaries as broadcasting pioneers on the Goodman Games Twitch channel, I'm sure they have to give us some slot back,
Absolutely. Yeah, I miss it. That was always a lot of fun to do. And I don't know, a great way to kind of, it kicked off so many cool discussions. So let's look at April. Let's do it. Let's we'll pick a day, pull a trigger, and I'll
all right. Was this Elena says she'll set us up. So there we go.
Blessed be. Thank
we
you.
We know somebody in the biz. So
Yeah.
So
hey, Knoxville 2020 has a question.
Yes, I do see that. There is Shutter Mountain material currently in the works. I can't say too much about it, but it is, we haven't forgotten. So, obviously, so stuff is out there, stuff is being worked on, stuff is in editing, all the rest of that good stuff. No, so obviously we've got stuff coming. Yes. If I've had a hand to it before I took this job, you can bet that we're going to have stuff coming after I took this job, and and there's actually the crazy stuff that Mike comes up with. Like now there's only one person to say no, so
yeah.
So if I got to use my opinion to get my crazy plans out there, sure, why not? So. All right. Well, any hints? Nothing hints right now because I don't want to say too much, because it's not clear for public something. But stuff is coming. All right, promise you that. All right. Well, I think that we're just about done talking about DCC Lankhmar. Brendan, thank you very much for coming on and talking to me about
Absolutely,
DCC Lankhmar number 12, Mercy on the Day of the Eel. So. At this point, I would say normally we go to commercial break, but Brendan, since you and I are used to hanging around together, you can hang around for the final segment where we're going to talk about some stuff which is coming up, and in fact, you might actually be able to get a little bit of hints on stuff. So, first of all, some of you have been asking. So there have been rumors. In fact, there have been pre-orders that from people who are not clear due pre-orders, but. Tome of Adventure Volume 1, long planned, is officially going to be coming to Indiegogo next month. So after long delays and COVID inspired stuff and everything, it is finally in the works. Will be coming out. It is going to, for those of you who are unaware, Tome of Adventure is going to collect the kind of the first 5, I believe offhand at the top of my hand, adventures, starting with Sailors on the Star of the Sea and running to, is that no, I don't know what the 5 one is. I don't remember what a 5 is off the top of my hand. That was almost 100 episodes. I don't know, 100 things ago. But it will be coming out. It'll be a hardback cover. So DCC is now 10 years old, so some of those older adventures are not going to be in print forever. So this is kind of a way to make sure that people get their hands on them, and people are coming in late, so we'll have an opportunity to pick them up. So we're looking very much to sending that out. And it also gives a chance for Doug to do more art. So nobody can say no to another Doug cover for DCC. So keep an eye on that. We'll probably have more about that. Just Beyond the Black Gate. That's the one that I couldn't remember off the top of my head. No. So that was it. So I'll have more to say about them most likely next month for the April the Maw Mike, where we'll also kind of like do some recaps of anything that might have come up during GaryCon, because there is no what's new with Goodman Games at GaryCon this year, but we, between this show and between Chris Doyle's talking TSR or down the pike, we'll have all that stuff covered. So okay, Brendan, what's up with the road crew, man? Is there stuff in the works with the road crew?
So much stuff. This is going to be the best road crew year ever. So many people are launching off games. So we have started the Road Crew Advisory Council. So we're working closely with a couple of Road Crew stalwarts to put together, like, to improve the program, to make it better for people, to have more features. We actually had a meeting recently, and I've got an idea for something for the road crew that I'm hammering out the details of right now. But it's coming out, fantastic. It's gonna be a really cool thing, for a little cool Benny for people in the road crew. Chance to get some cool gaming in with some cool people. And then of course we have the bumper sticker contest is going on right now. We have gotten
a bumper sticker contest. Please tell me more.
Why, yes. Send your bumper sticker and contest entries into info@goodman-games.com. We are going to take the top 3 winners. We're going to print those up and do something with them. I don't know what yet. And the top 3 winners are, has to be related to some kind of Goodman Games product, but 11 by 3 inches. And I forget the date. You can look it up online. I think it's like the end of the month, somewhere right around there. It's like midnight of the 28th or something like that.
Get it before Gary Con.
Yeah, I should have written it down, but I didn't.
Because nobody's going to be manning the phones during Gary Con. That's it.
No one's manning. Yeah, no one. Day after too. I wouldn't try emailing me on that Tuesday. I think I'll be
a lonely phone ringing in the Goodman Games corporate headquarters. That's it. Everybody else is gone. That's it.
Fully. But yeah, so get your right. There have been I've received probably a couple of dozen entries so far, and some of them are great, but I want to see yours. And a lot of room for the top. And the top 3 winners are each going to win a original piece of artwork from our very own Brad K. McDevitt.
All right, excellent.
Can't beat that.
Keep it clean.
For goodness sakes, right? Come on now.
Don't make it too funny that the person tailgating you like slams into you because they're laughing too hard. No, we're not responsible for any injuries, incurred by hilarious bumper stickers. No. All right. So this is actually going to be announced very soon, but I hear y'all like grab bags. Would you like some grab bags with your grab bags? Because it is that time of year again. So coming up soon, it's the Goodman Game grab bags, which is kind of, has kind of graduated to the grab box. So this year right now, basically, it will be coming up in the near future, and it is going to be your chance to get 7 to 8 pounds of Goodman Game products. All right, so it's so it's $69.99, well, basically, which comes up to basically basically $10 a pound, and when you consider like a normal flimsy module is $9.99, it's a heck of a deal. So
rock your collection.
Yeah, anybody who has like been participating in this before, they usually come up on social media, like as soon as they get like, I can't believe what they sent me. So, and that's usually like, I can't believe I got this, because so we guarantee that each order there will be no duplicates. However, if you order like 2 orders, we making no promises. So, but it's just your chance to get some good stuff out there. So we're cleaning out the warehouse, finding out, we're digging into the sofa covers, seeing what's up. Oh, look, for introducing the Sailors on the Starless Sea. How did that get there? Put that in there.
Would be.
So that's that. And one final, I think, before we go is right around GaryCon time. The one person left in the office, we will be announcing something called Attack of the Sequel, which is basically we are going to ask the DCC fans of what adventure out there would you like to see a sequel to. So we'll be polling out the people and figure out what you want to do. I know we've got a bunch of different classics in the mix, so this is your chance to basically say we would love to see a follow up to whatever. I don't want to pick up certain name because I don't want to insult anybody. But and one of the answers is not I want to see another different cover for Sailors on the Starless Sea. That's not an option. I would tell you that much. So that's well, I mean, I've seen people making judgment. I'm not here. There's a poll. There'll be a poll coming up, and let yourself know there. So there will be a list of 10 adventures that you can choose from, because we don't want to drive everybody crazy. All right, I think that's it. I think we are doing well. Reverse it. I make no promises. This is we're thrilled. This is completely up to the fans. So all right. Well, I think that's about it. It seems to be about 10 o'clock, and I think that's about it. The Maw of Mike is getting tired, so it's time for the Maw to close. So it just leaves me to thank Ann Hunter and Stephen Newton and my cohort in crime, Brendan LaSalle, for being here with me. And of course, all you people for tuning in. Thank you very much. Please spread the word. You know, people, a lot of people are asking like, what's coming up with Goodman Games? And people are like, if you're watching Maw of Mike, you know more than everybody else does. So. Thank you all again. Please keep sharing the tapes. Keep distributing the links. Keep liking, thanking, and doing all that stuff that you have to do that I don't understand about Twitch to make work. But so, all right, thank you very much, and I'll see you in a month. And hopefully, I will be recovered with GaryCon by then. So, all right, good night, everybody.